He used to call me first with good news, but now she was the one he turned to. I didn't notice at first until I overheard him say, "You understand me in ways no one else ever has." My stomach dropped. I waited, hoping I was wrong, until one night, he fell asleep with his phone unlocked. A message popped up, if only things were different. That morning, I kissed him goodbye and whispered, "If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?" He smirked, "Nothing." I pulled out his phone and whispered, "Then why did you tell her you wished you were with her?" His smirk disappeared, and that's when he knew I had seen it all. We'd been married 11 years. Lived in Chicago, a modest 2-bedroom condo near Hyde Park. Nothing fancy, but it was home. I thought we were happy. We both worked. No kids. We were trying a few years back, but life had other plans. He worked in IT, I worked in finance. Long hours, but we made it work. He used to call me first with any good news. A raise. A funny story. Something stupid that happened at work. Even the random, "You won't believe this guy at the coffee shop today" kind of calls. And I loved that. Those moments kept us connected through the chaos of life. But I started to notice, things changed. At first, it was little stuff. I'd find out from someone else that he'd gotten a promotion. Or he'd come home talking about a new project he was excited about, and I'd smile like it was the first time I was hearing it, because it was. I told myself he was just busy. That maybe he meant to call me but didn't have the chance. Then came the phone habits. He used to leave his phone anywhere. Kitchen table, couch, bathroom. Never thought twice about it. Then suddenly, it was always face down. Always on silent. He'd take it with him even just to get the mail. If it buzzed and I looked at it, he'd practically leap across the room. Still, I gave him space. I didn't want to be that wife. The insecure, overthinking, paranoid wife. I was raised better than that. I believed in trust. But then I overheard him. He was on the balcony late one night, whispering on the phone. I just stepped out of the shower and heard the sliding door crack open. He didn't know I was standing in the hallway, frozen. He said, "You understand me in ways no one else ever has." My stomach dropped. That sentence. It wasn't a work friend sentence. It wasn't even a close friend sentence. That was intimate. That was the kind of thing you say when you're looking at someone like they're your whole world. I didn't confront him. Not then. I waited. I watched him. His mood changed. He smiled more when he texted. He seemed distracted when he was with me, like he was mentally somewhere else. The sex slowed down. When I'd reach for his hand at night, sometimes he'd flinch like he forgot I was even there. I became a ghost in my own house. The worst part? He wasn't cruel. He wasn't yelling or mean. He was just distant, polite, detached. Like a hotel clerk trained to smile at every guest, even if he doesn't remember their name. Then came the night that broke everything. He fell asleep on the couch. His phone was in his hand. Unlocked. I knew I shouldn't. But my hands moved before my brain did. There she was. Her name was Mia. I didn't recognize it. Not a mutual friend. Not someone from work I'd heard about. Just Mia. The chat was pinned to the top. Opened like a journal. And the message sitting at the top? If only things were different. My heart didn't just break. It screamed inside my chest. There were hundreds of messages. Scrolling felt like cutting into myself. Every "I wish I met you sooner" felt like a stab. Every "you get me" twisted the knife. She wasn't just some fling. She was an emotional affair. The kind that steals your partner's soul while you're still washing their socks and folding their shirts and making their favorite pasta because you think maybe dinner together will bring him back to you. He stirred a little, so I quietly locked the phone and walked to the bathroom. I threw up. That morning, I made breakfast. I kissed him on the cheek and whispered, "If you could change one thing about your life, what would it be?" He looked at me and smirked. "Nothing." I smiled. Then I pulled out his phone, still unlocked from earlier, held it up, and whispered, "Then why did you tell her you wished you were with her?" His smirk disappeared. And that's when he knew. I had seen it all. He didn't say a word. He just stared at the phone in my hand like it was a live bomb. His lips parted a little, Like he was going to explain, lie, deny, something, but nothing came out. I watched the color drain from his face. Finally, he sat down at the edge of the bed, rubbed his face with both hands. That's when I noticed his wedding ring was off. I hadn't even realized he'd stopped wearing it. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," he mumbled. "That's what they all say, right? Didn't mean to." Like emotions just slip and fall into someone else's arms. "How far is this far?" I asked, staring straight at him. He looked up, eyes bloodshot, voice shaking. "We haven't. It wasn't physical. Yet." He didn't say it, but I could hear it in his pause. "It was going to be. Eventually." "How long?" I asked. He swallowed. 6 months. I laughed. It wasn't a joyful laugh. More like a sound that escaped because it couldn't stay inside. 6 months. Half a year. That meant birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. All those times I thought we were just busy or off. He was already halfway out the door. "She's not who you think she is," he said, like that meant anything. "I don't think she's anything," I snapped. "She's not mine to think about." "You are." He flinched. "Good." Then he said something I didn't expect. "She's getting divorced." My heart clenched. "She never planned to ruin anything," he added, like that made it better. "She's just. I don't know. She listens. She doesn't judge. She makes me feel like I can breathe." And just like that, every ounce of love I had for him cracked a little more. "You mean I make you feel like you're held accountable?" I said. "I expect things. I ask you to show up. And she lets you run." He didn't argue. It was almost worse that he didn't. The next few days were strange. We didn't fight. Not like you'd expect. No screaming. No throwing things. Just silence. He went to work like nothing happened. I stopped texting him during the day. Stopped checking in. We slept in the same bed, backs turned, oceans apart. He didn't block her. I know because I checked. Part of me wanted to burn everything. Call her. Scream at her. But I didn't. I wasn't going to give her that power. Instead, I started writing things down. Every feeling. Every thought. Every lie I'd told myself to keep the peace. I started seeing myself from the outside, and I didn't like what I saw. I had been waiting for him to come back. But why? What exactly was I holding on to? Then, something changed. About a week later, he came home and sat on the couch like he had something to say. I was in the kitchen, halfway through a glass of wine. "I told her I can't talk to her anymore," he said. I turned around slowly. "Why now?" He looked tired. Like the weight of it finally crushed him. "Because she told me she's moving here. To Chicago. She wants to start over. With me." My wine glass hit the counter harder than I meant it to. "You waited until now to cut her off?" I asked. "When she's already packed bags?" He nodded. I didn't think it would go that far. I kept telling myself I was just talking, that it was harmless. "Let me guess," I said, voice shaking. "You never planned to leave me." He hesitated. And in that second of silence, everything I feared became real. He had thought about it. Maybe still was. "She said she'd wait," he admitted. "But I told her she shouldn't." "So you're the good guy now?" I laughed bitterly. "Telling her to back off while still living with your wife like you didn't emotionally cheat for half a year?" He didn't answer. That night, he slept on the couch. I couldn't breathe with him in the room. His presence felt like a bruise. A week passed. Then another. We were in limbo. Until one evening, I came home and found his suitcase by the door. His suitcase. He was standing next to it, keys in hand. "I think we need space," he said. I nodded. No tears. Just tired. He paused before leaving. "She said she was pregnant," he whispered. That stopped me cold. "What?" "She said she missed a period. That she thinks it's mine." I felt like the floor vanished under me. "But it doesn't make sense," he added quickly. "We never." I swear. I don't think she's telling the truth. I think she's trying to pull me back in. I couldn't even speak. He left. And I stood there alone, wondering what kind of story I was now living in. I hadn't even decided if I still loved him. But suddenly, I had to ask myself another question. What if the woman who stole my husband's heart was now carrying his child? The weeks after he left were strange. Quiet, but not peaceful. I'd always thought that if something like this ever happened, I'd either fall apart or go into full revenge mode. I did neither. I just existed. I went to work. I did laundry. I watched old episodes of Frasier at night with the volume low. I didn't cry as much as I thought I would. I think part of me had already been grieving long before he walked out with that suitcase. Then came the first real twist. Mia messaged me. She found me on Facebook. I stared at the message for a full minute before opening it. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know about you until it was too late. Too late? She kept writing. He told me he was unhappy, but I didn't know he was still with you, still trying. He said you were basically separated. I only found out when he slipped and mentioned your name one day. That was 3 months ago. I didn't respond. I didn't even know what I'd say if I did. She'd been lied to too. The next day, I found myself doing something I hadn't done in years. I called his sister, Alyssa. We'd always been close, but he slowly pulled back from his family over the last couple of years. I hadn't thought much of it at the time. Alyssa answered on the second ring. Finally, she said. I've been waiting for you to call. That hit me hard. You knew. I asked. I didn't know about her, she said. But I knew something was off with him. He stopped showing up. Stopped calling Mom. I thought it was depression. Or stress. I didn't want to believe he was just being an ass. We talked for almost 2 hours. About old times, about who he used to be, about how none of us saw this coming. But then she dropped another twist. You remember last year when he went to San Diego for that work trip? She asked. I did. It was a week in April. He said he was going for a cybersecurity conference. Sent me selfies from the hotel, even a picture of his name badge. I'd never questioned it. Well, she said, he wasn't there. What do you mean? My friend Leslie works at the San Diego Marriott where he said he was staying. I called her while he was there, just for fun, to ask if she could surprise him with a drink or something for me. She said no one with that name was staying there. I never told you because I didn't want to cause drama unless I was sure. I felt sick. It was all starting to unravel. I hung up and pulled out my laptop. Dug through my emails. Found the airline confirmation he forwarded to me last April. But here's the thing, I never checked the return flight. He left on a Monday. The return flight was for Friday. But I remembered clearly, he didn't come home until Sunday. Where had he been? I dug deeper. Credit card statements, Venmo history, anything I could get my hands on. That's when I saw it, a $648 charge to a hotel in New Orleans. Not San Diego. New Orleans. That's when the picture started to form. The affair didn't start 6 months ago. It was going on for much longer. Mia wasn't just a side conversation. She'd been part of his life for at least a year. Maybe longer. And then came the real gut punch. He came back. Out of nowhere, after 5 weeks of silence, he showed up at the door. I need to talk, he said. I almost didn't let him in. But something told me to hear him out. He sat on the couch, looked around like he was trying to remember the place. I was wrong about everything, he said. She lied to me. I didn't say a word. She was never pregnant, he continued. She faked the whole thing. Used a stock photo of a positive test she found online. Sent it to me. Said she was doing it for us. I just stared at him. She was trying to trap me, he said. I finally saw her for who she really was. Manipulative. Controlling. And when I told her I couldn't leave you for something built on lies, she flipped. Said she'd ruin me. Told my boss I was harassing her. My eyes widened. What? He nodded slowly. HR got involved. I had to take a leave. They're investigating. I could lose my job. Suddenly, the weight of everything came crashing down. Not just betrayal. Not just heartbreak. But chaos. Collateral damage. And now, he was standing in my living room, hoping I'd take him back? I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. But I don't have anyone else. That hit differently. Because for a second, I saw it. Not my husband. Not the man who cheated. But a man who destroyed his own life and was finally realizing the wreckage. I stood up, looked him dead in the eye. You didn't lose me because of her, I said. You lost me the moment you decided I wasn't worth telling the truth to. And the worst part? You would have kept lying if you didn't get caught. He didn't fight back. He just nodded. Defeated. Then I said something I didn't plan to. You can stay tonight. Couch. One night. Then you figure out your life somewhere else. He looked surprised. But he accepted it. And as I stood in the doorway to the bedroom, I watched him sit there, alone, quiet, broken, and I realized something. I wasn't the broken one. He was. And now I had a choice to make. What kind of woman was I going to be after all this? He stayed that night. On the couch, silent like a ghost. I barely slept. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, heart racing. Part of me wanted him to leave right away. Part of me wanted to believe the man I married was still somewhere inside him, under all the lies. The next morning, I made coffee like it was any other Tuesday. He came into the kitchen, unshaven, looking like he hadn't slept either. He looked smaller somehow, like the weight of everything had finally settled on his shoulders. I'll be out by tonight, he said quietly. I nodded. But just as he turned to leave the room, my phone rang. It was Alyssa. I picked up, and her voice was frantic. Did you see it yet? See what? Check Facebook. Mia posted something. Public. I opened the app and my breath caught in my throat. Mia had posted screenshots. All of it. The texts. The photos. The messages. Not just between her and my husband, but him talking about me. Mocking me. Calling me cold. Saying I used to be fun. Telling her he felt trapped. That he only stayed because starting over is expensive. I felt like the floor vanished. And the worst part? People were commenting. Sharing it. Mutual friends. Colleagues. Even his coworkers. That's when the explosion happened. I walked into the living room, phone shaking in my hand. Why is she posting screenshots of you talking about me like I'm your prison warden? He blinked. What? She exposed you. And guess what? She exposed me, too. You didn't just betray me privately. You humiliated me publicly. He grabbed his phone and saw it. His face paled. I didn't know she'd do that, he stammered. I told her it was over. I said some things to keep her calm. To keep her calm? I screamed. So you trash-talked your wife to the woman you cheated with, and now the whole world knows you think I'm a soulless roommate, and you were too tired to keep pretending. Tears hit my face before I realized I was crying. He stood there, silent, watching me break. I threw his phone at the couch. Get out. He didn't move. So I walked over to the door and yanked it open. Get out. And finally, he did. He didn't take anything. Just his jacket and his keys. He didn't even look back. The door slammed shut behind him. And I sank to the floor, sobbing in a way I hadn't yet. Not when I found the texts. Not when he left the first time. But now. Because now, there was no pretending. No waiting for him to wake up and realize his mistake. He hadn't made a mistake. He made choices. The aftermath was brutal. People texted. Called. Some to gossip, some to offer sympathy. My boss pulled me aside at work to ask if I was okay after one of our clients sent her the post. She said I didn't have to come in for the rest of the week. I want to stay with my sister in Oak Park for a few days. Just to breathe. Alyssa came over one night with wine and junk food. I'm so sorry, she said. He's not the guy I thought he was either. We talked late into the night. She told me things he'd hidden from everyone. How he'd borrowed money from their mom and never paid it back. How he'd pulled away from family not because of stress, but because he couldn't face what he was becoming. Then came a letter. 2 weeks later. In the mailbox. Handwritten. No return address. It was from him. He wrote that he'd lost everything. His job. His apartment. Friends. He said Mia was threatening to sue him for emotional distress. That her ex-husband found out and filed for full custody of their kid, using the affair as proof of her instability. He wrote that he missed me. That I was the only person who ever really saw him. And at the end, he wrote, If you ever want to talk, I'll be at that diner we used to go to on Sundays. I'll go every week at 9 a.m. Just in case. I never went. It's been 5 months now. The condo is mine. I painted the walls, changed the curtains, donated every shirt of his I found. I'm not over it, not really. Sometimes I still wonder what went wrong. How the man who made me pancakes at 7 a.m. on our anniversary turned into the man who let another woman steal pieces of him. But I also learned something. It wasn't about her. Or even about me. He was broken in ways I couldn't fix. He wanted easy. He wanted praise without effort. Intimacy without work. And when life stopped being a fantasy, he bolted. He didn't lose me because of Mia. He lost me because he couldn't be honest. Even with himself. I'm dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I smile more. I laugh more. Some days I still cry. But there's light now. A different kind of hope. People ask if I'd ever take him back. I don't even need to answer. The silence says enough. I may never forget how he broke me. But I'll always remember how I rebuilt myself.